Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. We're just gonna pretend that my hair is not this big floofy mess, okay? I'm just gonna get that out there right away. I made coffee all week, so I'm really happy about that. I feel like the camera's pointed up way too much. Okay. Welcome back to my channel. Today's video I actually already filmed. I did it last night, but it was like 8 o'clock at night before I got around to it. So the quality is so poor, and I didn't realize it as I was filming, but when I went back to watch it and edit it, everything is super grainy, like that really bad quality picture you get when it's dark and there's not enough light. So instead of doing an unboxing video, I'll do a plant haul video. I did receive more today, so the two shops I believe that I'm showing is going to be Planthaven, Toronto, and the other one is House of Plants. I'll put it on the screen up here, and then I'll obviously link them in the description again. Please don't play with my 4-string of hearts. I didn't hurt her, I swear. She's just very mouthy when she doesn't get what she wants. She makes me feel so bad. Like, I pick her up to take her away from something or doing something bad, she just like squeals at me, and it sounds like I like tortured her or something. Okay, bye. So yeah, I'm gonna get into it. The first plants are from Planthaven, Toronto. And where are they? I see 2. What did I do with the others? So the first one is where? Oh, I remember. Is this Philodendron Cream Splash. Sorry, my boyfriend just messaged me and I was reading it off the screen. Philodendron Cream Splash. I've been wanting one of these for a while. I used to have one. I killed it. Well, I had one that was sent to me and advertised as a Rio, but it wasn't. It was a Cream Splash. I guess they do look very similar, but if you compare them like side by side, you can kind of see that there is some obvious differences, and I'll do a side by side comparison in a minute because I do actually have a Rio as well that I got from them. And I think this is like one of the prettiest Rios I've ever seen. I know that they're tiny, but like look at the variegation on the leaves. I think it's so pretty, especially on here. And look, like this one has like a pink tinge to it. How freaking pretty is that? My hands are so shaky. And then just to show you side by side, there are some differences. So the Cream Splash has completely different variegation. If you look at it, it's much more like not splashy, that's not the word I'm looking for, but it's chunkier variegation. You tend to have like the green around the outer edges, and then the middle is more of a cream yellow color, or I guess it's a light green too, a lion color. Whereas if you look at the Rio, there's a lot more green to it, and then it's just like down the middle vein area is variegated. So I also tend to find that the Cream Splash, the leaves tend to be more round, and the Rio tends to have more that like heart-shaped look to it, like more like a heartly philodendron. They are technically, you know. But yeah, I got this guy from there, and they were like really reasonably priced, so I was like, gotta grab some. I went on the site originally looking for a Cream Splash, but I stumbled across a bunch of other plants, and I just couldn't help myself, as usual. Next up is this guy. And this is a Philodendron Pink Princess. This is, I know I've said this like a million times, but I've been trying to get better at buying plants just because I come across one and it's on my wish list. I don't want it just because it's on my wish list. I want to wait until I find one that I absolutely love. And this is one that I absolutely love. So this is a Philodendron White Princess, and it has this half moon leaf here, and then over here it has really super pretty, it almost reminds me of like the variegation on a Monstera constellation, but look at the size of it. That's the other thing, like whenever I see them they're like super tiny. I'm like, I'm not for that right now. When they're like that, they just don't tend to have like the variegation that the bigger ones do, and I really wanted one that I can put on a pole, but the smaller ones, they're not quite ready for a pole when they're like tiny. So I knew I wanted a bigger one. I wasn't expecting this big, but I am so impressed. Like, look at the size of the sleeve. It's crazy. Look at that. This one, unfortunately, is likely gonna, the leaf is likely gonna crisp up and die. I have, what I've done in the past to kind of preserve the variegation when it starts like doing this is I'll let it get kind of crispy, and then I'll just like rub it and let the bits kind of like flake off, and I found that does sometimes stop it from, I don't know why, but it does tend to help, or at least preserve it for a little while longer. And then there's this new leaf that's unfurling. It's only half out, and I've been tempted to like unfurl the other half, but I don't know, should I do it? Oh no, there's a bad spot. I find that's really common when you're shipping plants, and the leaf is unfurling. They tend to come a bit more damaged. So that's the new leaf. It has a nice little white splotch there. Unfortunately, it doesn't look good, but when I received it, it wasn't unfurled at all, so like it just started unfurling today, and that's fine, no big deal. There'll be lots more. I'm not upset about it, and if you look around the bottom, there's some babies in there too that I could separate, but I don't think I'm going to. I think I'll at the very least let them get bigger before I try to separate them. But yeah, I'm so in love with this plant. And then the last one, reach. Oh, the last one is this Philodendron Strawberry Shake. Now you may be wondering or thinking that's not a strawberry shake, but it is. It just has very low to no variegation, and I see these come up sometimes where they're like super cheap because they're reverted, or they're low variegation, and so they go for a lot cheaper. Like this one I got for $40, and it's because it's kind of a hit or a miss whether you can get the variegation to come back, but I was like, you know what, for $40 I'm willing to try. And if you look closely at the leaves, there is a little bit of like variegation on them. Like, I don't know if it's going to pick up on this, like it's very subtle, but you can see that there's a bit of, it almost looks more like discoloration, but anyway, I figured I'd let it grow out and then chop it up a bit and see if I can get the variegation to come back. I'm going to try a couple different methods, and I might actually check out the roots and the nodes and see if there's anything I can chop off down there to kind of stimulate some new growth from the bottom. So yeah, I'll keep you posted on that, but I figured, like, why not? Like, worst case scenario, I have this cool little plant with red stems. It's still pretty. Probably wouldn't pay $40 for it, but I think it's worth the try. Stop! Don't bite me. You can't play with the strings of hearts. Goodbye. do you ever carry your cats somewhere and then they immediately leave you, and it's like the ultimate rejection. So yeah, that's everything from that shop. Moving on to the second shop, this is the order I got today. And the shop owner is super, super nice. I actually wanted to get a plant that they can't ship because of the size, and I contacted them and said, if I accept the risk, will you ship it to me? And they were completely willing to. They were awesome. I actually contacted them on a weekend, so they were in the shop at the time, but they were still willing to, you know, work with me on it. And I did end up not getting it just because I found one nearby that I decided to get instead, and then I didn't have to take that risk, and they didn't have to worry about finding a big enough box and all that. So moving on to what I did get, if you look here, you may notice that my lemon lime philodendron is no longer tiny little stub. It is now gigantic full pot. It's so full and pretty. I wanted one of these so bad, like a bigger one. I've been looking almost since I got into the hobby for one of these, and I've never seen one in person until like not super recent, but within the last few months. I was at Walmart and there was this one single pot like with 2 strands of lemon lime philodendron, and I took it and it wasn't in good shape. It did end up kind of deteriorating. I still have a few cuttings of it that I rooted into a smaller pot, but I wanted, this is what I wanted. And I'm so happy. Like, it's so magical looking, and when like the sun is shining on it, it's just another one that I really want to get is the Moonlight Philodendron Moonlight. Yeah, that's what it's very similar. Like, it has the same color and it kind of shines the same in the sun, but it's more like the leaves are more shaped like Philodendron Pink Princess. They're huge. You can get really tiny ones too, but I'm looking for a big one. There's certain plants that I really like having tiny pots of, and then there's other plants that I want full. So next up is this wishlist plant. I never expected to be able to own such a freaking full, beautiful, stunning plant of Scindapsus Jade. Look at how dark it is. The foliage is so freaking stunning. Like, and like, look at the size of this thing. It's like a full-on hanging pot. Isn't that crazy? Oh, it's so like luxurious. Like, I can't explain to you how good this looks in person. I never thought, I thought I was going to get like a tiny little cutting eventually, or a tiny little pot, but I have a freaking hanging basket of it now. I'm so happy and excited to have this. Now, I do have one more Scindapsus that I got from them, and it's over here. And I will say, there's nothing wrong with this plant, okay? It's totally fine, but something that I don't like about hanging baskets or buying plants that's a hanging basket is when they come like this. It's just a pot, in my opinion. There's no trailing or anything like that going on, and there's nothing wrong with it. It's a fine plant. It's Scindapsus Exotica, by the way. But if I wanted just like a normal pot, I would have bought a normal pot. Maybe I'm like dumb for thinking this, but when I get hanging baskets, I like to have actual trailing, because the thing is, I hang mine up on the windows, and maybe I've just always lived in really freakishly tall, high ceiling buildings, but when I put this up there, I'm not going to be able to see any of the plant because it's not hanging, it's not trailing or anything. It's just, so like when I have it up like that, that's all I'm going to see is the pot basically. Whereas if you look at this, there's some trailing pieces. It's not crazy long or anything, but I'm gonna be able to see the plant from up where it is, whereas this is just, I'm gonna see the bottom of the pot and the sides, and that will be it. So Theo, you just knocked over a wish list plant. That's a big no-no. No. So yeah, I love it, but probably would not have picked it up if I had seen it in person. Again, nothing wrong with it. The shop didn't do anything wrong or anything like that. It's just like a personal quirk thing I have. When I get hanging baskets in person, I would never touch one that isn't actually trailing. But that being said, I'm going to move on to the next, which is this Peperomia pink lady. And super pretty. This one doesn't have much pink variegation on it, but if I look through here, the new ones, there's some really, really freaking pretty pink in here. If you move these out of the way. So I think what I might do is chop a bunch of these bigger ones that's hiding the really pretty pink in there. I think I'm going to chop those and then like propagate them, and then I can see the pink that I want that's in there. Like there is pink in there, but it's like the newer ones. So but like the variation is still really pretty on this. Like look, it's like that marbly color with different shades of green, and I love that. This has been a wishlist plant for a really, really long time. So I'm happy to have that in my collection. And the last plant that I got I bought it because I wanted like one of those super full Cebu blue hanging baskets that you see in the US all the time at like Home Depot and Kent and stuff like that. Actually, I don't know if they have Kent. Like at Lowe's. But that's what I wanted. That's what I thought was being advertised. But I got like this plant that's like naked, okay? It's not full at all. It's really long, but there's only like leaves, like maybe 4 leaves on the entire trailing piece. So it did say with such and such a length vine, but I thought it was gonna be, you know, a nice vine, but instead it's like super bare and naked and just sad. And typically what I would do in a situation like that is I wouldn't be upset, and I'm not upset about this either. What I would do is I would chop it up and just make a full pot and let it grow out itself. But this particular plant, the vines on it are really, really woody, and I don't like propagating woody types of vines because I find that they take forever to grow roots, they take forever to put out growth. It's just not worth the effort in my opinion, and like to take care of them, it's not worth it. So I think what I'm gonna do is maybe experiment on it and like see if I can activate the nodes and different growth points along the vines where it's really bare, and see if I can get growth to come out there, like new vines. So I think that's what I'm gonna do. And I'll just go grab it and show you. And again, I just want to reiterate that there's nothing wrong with this plant. It's healthy. The shop didn't do anything wrong. I will absolutely be buying from them again. It's nothing like that. It's just not what I look for in a plant, I guess. And I mean, it's not the worst, but it's obviously quite bare up top, right? And then it's super long. Like, look how long these are. And it's longer, but look at the space between the leaves. This is the part that, you know, is kind of weird to me. I don't like super bare. See how long some of the vines are, and then the distance between the leaves. So I think what I'm gonna do, actually, so like this is what I'm talking about. So there's like this gap right here, right? So I think what I'm gonna do is try to activate these little nodes here, and this one's actually growing on its own. But I think what I'm gonna try to do is get new growth to come out of here and make it fuller that way. So that's interesting that it is actually doing that by itself. So I think that's definitely what I'm going to do, is try to activate those areas to get it fuller. And then I'm going to chop up some of the newer growth sections. So if you look here, it's less woody and more green. This is what I want to propagate, not the woody part. So I think what I'll do is I'll take the green bits and pot them back up top to make it full. I don't like seeing dirt when I have a full pot. I like full pots that the dirt's not visible kind of thing. So that's what I'm going to do. And I also really don't like the potting mix it's in. Again, it's not nothing to do with the plant shop. It's just what they come in. So I'll probably repot it. I can also tell that there's some like roots coming. There's like, it's super root bound. Like there's roots like circling around the top. I wonder if I pulled this out, if it would be like, I'm just curious. Oh yeah, it needs a new pot. It needs an upgrade, it's a new soil. But yeah, that's where I am with those, and that's what I'm going to do with them. That's just my opinion on a couple of different plants too, like when I'm purchasing plants, what I look for versus what I wouldn't buy. And when you're buying online, you can't always pick. Like for example, I always prefer to pick my plant online if I can. It's not labeled, but like this one, there's different ones that were labeled differently, and you pick your actual individual plant. I love doing that over just getting like a random basket that you don't get to pick, because then you kind of get surprised and you have what happened to me, where it's something I wouldn't have bought if I had seen it in person first. And again, I love the plant shop. They did nothing wrong. There's nothing wrong with these plants. They're healthy. They're really healthy. When they ship these, and these are big plants, right? Like they're 8-inch pots and 6-inch pots, and they shipped really, really well. They had them like bubble wrapped and packaged super well, and I think this is the only package I've ever received that hasn't had any cosmetic damage to it from shipping. Like they didn't even drop a leaf. Like it was crazy how good they were packaged. So I know that they're taken really good care of, and I'm really happy with that. But yeah, that's my 2 cents on that. It's just my like quirky attitude or quirky opinion on plants that I like. And everyone has preferences when it comes to plants, right? Like some people like small plants, some people like big plants, some like full, some like cuttings. Like it's just whatever your preference is. And when you don't get to pick, you're obviously taking that risk of getting something that it's not exactly what you were looking for, but then you can get something like this that you were not expecting, and it's the best thing that ever happened to you. So it goes both ways, and I'm by no means upset by this order. I'm super excited, super happy. I can't wait to repot everything into pots and get them all hung up around my windows. I'm super excited, but I'm gonna leave it at that. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.